Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
I want to associate myself with the concerns raised by the gentleman from North Carolina. We are here in an unusual display of bipartisanship designed, I believe, to protect the civil liberties of the United States citizens. And importantly, that means constraining and limiting the breadth and depth of how FISA can be used and then turned around and targeted to the American people. My friend from North Carolina raises significant issues that are raised in this. One he did not mention when he added in including climate and other ecological change, and putting aside some political differences across the aisles about our concerns about relative topics here. This is a massive expansion of the focus of what is supposed to be directed towards foreign intelligence that is designed to protect the United States from foreign threat, immediate threat, danger directly to the American people in the form of a foreign actor, a foreign country, engaging with weapons of mass destruction or direct threats, but not what is now opening this up to political weaponization. And I would note in here, in addition to the climate and other ecological change, public health risks. And public health risks. Now, we just went through an extraordinary circumstance in this country over the last 3 or 4 years, and in which there are questions raised about the powers of the World Health Organization and others. And we want to say that somehow public health risks.
Would the gentleman yield to that point?
I'll yield because I do want to yield time to respond to the gentleman from North Carolina and me about the concerns here.
Sure. On the public health risk, I think you would agree, because there were legitimate concerns about whether COVID was a leak from the Wuhan lab. Well, the only way, the most effective way to determine that would be if our intelligence community had authorities to direct surveillance at foreign nationals, at Chinese or anyone else that they would communicate with. So this is articulating that public health is a reason that we would want to aim our surveillance capabilities overseas, and I yield back.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're trying to argue there. My concern is, right, we already have language in the existing statutes, right, where it's actual or potential attack or other grave hostile acts of a foreign power or an agent of a foreign power. If our federal government currently believed that they were going to carry out an attack, a biological attack or some other action, I believe it's there in the statute, but it's important when we start line iteming these kinds of things. We are now expanding the zone of foreign intelligence in ways that is deeply concerning, and I understand that the language currently might still capture what the gentleman's saying. So that might seem contradictory, but by putting this language in this list of all of these things, public health, climate, and other ecological change, I believe that we are massively expanding the scope of foreign intelligence away from the direct imminent harm attack idea of the limitation. In other words, we have 230,000 or 250,000, whatever the number is, targets, right, when we're focusing on foreign targets. Whatever the numbers are, we have some limited number, right? And if we start expanding the zone on the definition, we're going to have 1 million targets or 2 million targets, 5 million targets. And then that's going to be collecting more information on Americans in the exchange of communications between Americans and those individuals. And I think the whole point here of this legislation is to limit the breadth of FISA and to limit its possible direction on American citizens. If we want to have a different debate on the definitions of FISA, that might be meritorious. But right now, at this point, I cannot imagine expanding that. I'd yield to the gentleman from North Carolina.
I think the